All right, everybody, the playoffs continue tonight. Well, I should say the play-ins continue tonight. You got Pacers, Wizards. The winner will face the Sixers. We'll break that down, which opponent's better. I gave you my reasoning earlier. Keith Smith covers the NBA for Yahoo Sports. He will join me in just a second to break that down here on the Sports Bash. I want to remind you, Sports Bash brought to you by Matt Blatt Nissan. The all-new Matt Blatt Nissan is now open on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township next to Home Depot. Online, mattblattnissan.com. All right, Keith, these play-in games have been, we got two decent ones. We got one really good one last night. The Grizzlies game was a good one. You know, it was okay. Two teams at whatever. But tonight we got Pacers and Wizards. But first, your assessment of the Lakers-Warriors from last night and now what this means for the two teams in the West that will face, well, we don't know the other team yet, but the poor Suns getting stuck facing the Lakers. I'm sure they're thinking, we haven't been in the playoffs in 10 years, and this is the thanks we get?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the rough part. I had thrown it out there to the world last night. Who is rooting more for the Warriors? Warriors fans or Suns fans? 'Cause, I think, the Suns want to be, want to have that nice, ease into the playoffs and get after it, and they're just not going to. That game last night was just a real phenomenal basketball game. You had all sorts of playmaking on both sides. Your best players, stars were making plays. You saw it play almost like a Game 7 in a playoffs where it was a lot of where we're not going to let runs get away from us. We're going to call a timeout. We're going to make adjustments. We're going to make, changes. We're going to do all these things. And I think, we were, really rewarded as NBA fans for hanging in there. It's been a really tough season. And I said last night, if the playoffs anywhere near as that one was, then we're in for a treat.
Yeah, and obviously LeBron hits that shot. I mean, he does that because the shot clock's winding down. But I was impressed. I talked about this earlier, Keith, where I watched LeBron last night. He had 22 points, had a triple-double, but the difference is, like, Curry had an unbelievable game. He shot the lights out, but LeBron really controlled the pace of that game, right? I mean, the way and the passing. And I'm watching saying, man, if Ben Simmons just watched this guy, the way he controlled it, he didn't shoot a lot of jumpers. He hits the big three, hit another three. Ben's not going to do that. But the way he controls the pace of that game last night, I thought that was the big difference. Him controlling the pace against Curry going bananas.
Yeah, that was LeBron in it wasn't a must-win situation, but he played it like it was. And we've seen this now for, a decade plus, going almost on 2 decades now of him. When it's a big game, you get him the ball, and it's going to be played the style he wants it to be played at. He's going to speed it up when he wants to speed it up. He's going to slow it down when he wants to slow it down. It's just going to run through him, and he's going to make plays, and he's going to do it. And, we saw that all on display last night. That, it's very remarkable that this many years into his career, the mileage he has on him, he's still able to bring that, when it's really needed. That's just incredible.
Yep, and obviously they'll play the Suns, and we'll have that game for you on Sunday, right after the Sixers and whoever their opponent will be on 97.3 ESPN. So let's go there. Pacers, Wizards tonight. I said earlier, if you're a Sixer fan, you are rooting for the Pacers, right? You want to play the Pacers in round 1 over the Wizards.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, there's something to be said for Domantas Sabonis and his craft and how well he plays, that maybe he can get Joel Embiid in foul trouble, and that can kind of equalize things. But that is the extreme thing that you need if the Pacers to even make that series competitive. If it's the Wizards, it's just a pain in the neck to deal with Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, a couple of their other guys. They've got a lot of big bodies that they'll throw at Embiid, a lot of fouls that they'll use on him. They're basically going to tell Alex Len, beat him up for the first 5 minutes of each half, and then they'll go to work with Gafford and Lopez off the bench, and it's just a much more difficult series. And if Bradley Beal gets going, which he did kind of as that playing game in Boston went on, if he can really get going and get that hamstring feeling good, he can almost win a game by himself. Westbrook could win a game by himself. All of a sudden, then you're in a series that you didn't really expect to be in. So, yeah, you'd much rather see a beat-up and depleted Pacers team.
Yeah, and then, these two teams, it's funny. We had Tim Legler on yesterday. We were talking about this very topic, and he said, I mentioned on Wednesday that, hey, if you're the Wizards or Boston for that matter, I don't know that you were all that excited about playing the Nets. Washington didn't appear all that excited to play the Nets. And he said, look at what they've done against the Pacers this month. They beat them twice. Westbrook's averaged a triple-double. So you saw Westbrook early, didn't seem all that invested in the game. Let's see what he comes out looks like tonight. But do you think the Wizards kind of have in their mind, hey, we didn't beat the Celtics, but we know we can get the Pacers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, there was moments where you had both Boston and Washington in that game where it's like, all right, are they kind of gaming us out where, all right, we see you in the first round and maybe have a puncher's chance or no ball's chance, get them versus the Nets. That's just going to be such a difficult matchup for either one of those teams. And so, yeah, I think Washington is looking at it now, too, of, all right, once it got away from them in the second half against Boston, you saw Scott Brooks really start to manage his rotation. Then he waved the white flag very, with a lot of time left in the game. There's about 4.5 minutes to go. And he said, no, we're just getting into that because I think they knew, all right, hey, we can get that Pacers team. We've got that cushion. That's why you wanted to be the 8th seed so that you had a little bit of that cushion if you lost. And now they've got to be feeling good about their chances.
Yeah, that game, of course, is tonight on 97.3 ESPN. And you can hear it here. The Sixers will play Sunday at 1 against the winner of that game. Let's take a look at some of the other matchups that we do now know, Keith. And let's go with the Eastern Conference side of things because we know that it will be Brooklyn and Boston. And Boston, you get 50 burger. You can try to win a game. But how many times can Tatum dial up that night? That's probably the only way they can steal a game in this series, let alone win it.
Yeah, they would need Tatum to play, out of his mind. You'd need him to pull up prime Michael Jordan, to stay in, have a chance of winning the series. And on top of that, you need Kemba Walker to, step up and deliver as well. Now, they can get a game, maybe even 2 games off the Nets. I think best chance is to get one early. The Nets have played in a little while. It's going to take the Nets a little bit because they haven't played together much as a group all season. It's going to take them a little bit of their footing. So if Boston comes out on fire in game 1, you see them maybe feeling that. But that's, again, you're looking for them to talk yourself into it when all the logic tells you this is going to be Nets probably in 5. I think Boston's good enough to get at least one. I'll give that respect to their guys. But really, easy move through the first round for Brooklyn.
Yeah, I like Brooklyn, if not a sweep, just 5 in that one there because, we'll see. I think they want to come out and have that thing like everyone's saying we haven't played together. Everybody's questioning us. Watch how fast we dispose of a team that's made the playoffs 7 straight years. That game Saturday night, 8 o'clock. They'll play Saturday, Tuesday, Friday, Sunday. That's the 4 games there. Let's go to the one, Milwaukee. Everybody thought they were sneaky. They haven't been the 1 seed this year. Now they're the 3. They get stuck playing Miami. Was this a horrible, the worst case situation, or do you think Milwaukee shouldn't have trouble with the Heat?
Yeah, it's certainly not great for Milwaukee. But on the flip side, you could look at it and say, all right, we can exercise demons. And if you can beat the Heat and you could even beat them kind of convincingly, all of a sudden you're riding high going into a second-round matchup likely with the Nets. And that is, I think what you're trying to sell if you're the Bucks. I've maintained all season long that the Bucks took a lot of short-term losses this year for hopefully long-term games. They're more versatile on both ends of the floor. Their personnel is better. They're just better equipped to go at that Miami team. Miami's got that been there, done that, mentality, and they're a very good team as well. I just, I worry, were they a real byproduct of the bubble where they locked in better than just about any other team had? Are they going to be able to have that this year playing in hostile environments and those kind of things? Well, that's going to be one where I think we'll know pretty early on in this series if the Bucks win the first couple, feeling pretty good. If they lose one of those 2, lose both, they're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I know you make a great point about the bubble. There was no crowd. You had a young team. Nobody had the home court advantage last year. Milwaukee's in this situation. I'll tell you what, Milwaukee's path, they're going to earn it to beat the defending Eastern Conference champions, likely the Nets, and then most likely the Sixers, and then win another game. Finishing 3 this year was not a admirable or a task that anybody would ask for.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, it is brutal. That was why it was so important for Philadelphia to get that one lead. It's not much about the home court advantage. It is good. That's great, but it's about not having to play both Brooklyn and Milwaukee. They're now set up to only have to go through one. This is one where I really look at it and say, if Philadelphia can't get to the conference finals this season, then it really starts to where, all right, well, what do you got to do? Because it might not happen then. If they can't figure out this year to get that conference finals, this path is just set up so well for them, and that's a really troubling thing if they can't get it done.
All right, we're talking with Keith Smith, Yahoo Sports. The NBA playoff schedules are out. New York and Atlanta, that's the 4-5. The Sixers, if they win their first-round series, they would face this one. This is, the old, 90s styles Knicks against this young, high-flying, Trae Young. A lot of fun to watch Atlanta. This should be a very interesting series between two teams who don't have a lot of playoff pedigree in the recent past.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a really good constant styles. The Knicks, they want to play it a little slower. They want to beat you up. They're going to focus on the defense. And then the Hawks, they don't fly up and down the court, but they want to play a little faster than New York does, and they want to score points. They want to make it into an offensive game. So it's going to be almost a pull here, whose style wins out. I'm a little bit nervous for the Knicks only because their offense is so heavily dependent on Julius Randle. And even teams that aren't great defensive teams like Atlanta, when they have the ability to game plan for one player, they know they're going to see him 4 to 7 times over a week period, you can really build to slow them down. And they're going to put a lot of pressure on the Knicks. R.J. Barrett has to step up. Derrick Rose has to step up. And then they've got to find something from somebody else. And it's probably the next best guy to create offense is the rookie Emmanuel Quickly. So you're getting down to it if you're the Knicks, if Julius Randle isn't getting it done. The Hawks, they got all sorts of weapons that they can find scoring from. And it's really hard to slow down Trae Young because you just can't send doubles at him the way that build out their offense with shooters all around him.
All right, we'll get some quick thoughts from Keith on the West here. Clippers, Dallas, that game on Saturday at 4:30 here on 97.3 ESPN. Clippers won at this matchup.
Yeah, they did. It's all going to come down to Kristaps Porzingis. If he plays well and looks really good, the Mavericks have a chance. If not, it's just Luka has to do too much by himself. I think the Clippers have a lot of defenders. They're going to run at Luka. They're going to do a lot of things. They'll probably do what they did last year and beat him up. And, every time he goes into the paint, they're going to drop him to the floor. And, we'll see. But, yeah, I feel pretty good about the Clippers advancing in that one.
All right. And then tomorrow it's Golden State, Memphis. Who you got?
Golden State, I like the Grizzlies. I think they're way ahead of schedule, but I'm not going to pick against Steph in the Warriors, especially at home. I think they'll pull that one out, and that'll put them in there against the Jazz. It's a little bit for the Jazz fans. You got to have also a little bit of PTSD from what's happened, but those aren't those Warriors more. They don't have it at that level. I think Utah, the quality of their defense and their offensive play will overwhelm the Warriors in the end. But I do think we're going to see Steph back in the playoffs, and I'll take that because, once he's in there, there's always a chance something special happens.
Yeah, Utah, of course, they're the 1 seed. And look, Donovan Mitchell hasn't played in 4 or 5 weeks. So for him just to roll back out there and it's like, hey, Steph Curry's here, that's not an enviable task either. So there you go. Sunday night, 9:30, Utah, probably Golden State. Although I feel like Memphis is just one of those teams, not you, Keith, but the fans out there don't know much about them. They don't get a lot of exposure. Valanciunas 23-23. They got Morant, who's a great, great scorer. They just have a lot of young players. I like that Memphis team. They're a team that's on the arrow pointing up. So don't be surprised if they beat the Golden State Warriors, who really, I thought Green played great last night defensively, but didn't help him out a lick on offense. So if he doesn't play as well defensively, that could be interesting. That game should be fun tomorrow night here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, he's Keith Smith, Yahoo Sports, at Keith Smith NBA, and he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline, breaking it down for us here on the Sports Bash. Keith, we always appreciate it, man. Looking forward to talking playoffs with you throughout.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to breaking down what we.
Keith Smith, everybody, here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, coming up, thanks to Keith for joining us as well as always. When we come back, my 53-man roster prediction for the Eagles. You can go check it out now at 973ESPN.com, but I'll break it down, the entire 53-man as I see it today. Now, that could change, but these are the guys I got to pick from. So check it out on our website now, 973ESPN.com. And when we come back, I'll give you that. I'll give you the times for the playoff games that I got as well. And don't forget, Kaplan at 4. Do you remember? It's all here on the Sports Bash.